Welcome, everybody. We're going to give it just a couple minutes here. I'm sure there's people running late from meetings. I see quite a few on, but just to allow the remaining registrants to come on, we'll give it just a minute or so and then kick it off. All right, we've got quite a few attendees here, so let's go ahead and get started. Uh, First off, thank you for taking the time out of your day, end of the quarter, prior to spring break, whatever it is, your whatever busy time you're in, with whatever role you're in. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this webinar today, hosted by Syncly. And the idea is really to uh, cover a wide range of capabilities where AI is actually impacting the customer buying journey already today, the manufacturer's journey of how products are produced and brought into the market. So I'm happy to take us through this. Just a quick introduction. My name is Bryce Nord. I'm based out of the Midwest in the United States. Um, I've been with Syncly now just over 5 years. I've been in the kitchen, bath, and office furniture industry for the last 16 years. And my role here at Syncly is really as Vice President of Global Strategic Solutions. It is supporting our entire sales organization. It's really being the bridge between our product and R&D teams, our professional services teams, and the sales organization to support sales. But first and foremost is really partnering with all of the cabinet manufacturers, office furniture manufacturers, upholstery manufacturers that we have worldwide. And so today, across my team and across those that we support within the manufacturing space, we've got over 400 manufacturers using our complex 3D configuration solutions all the way through our full ERP suite. And then we've got over 10,000 users out there on Mosaic. And I think we've got a good wide range of attendees here today. So that is really the core of where I focus at Syncly, my time, and those that I support. And so I see and I hear a lot of things out there in the market of what people are demanding. And today we're going to try to summarize some of that while also sprinkling in some of the AI capabilities that actually are already live within our suite of products. So first off, let's talk about the brutal reality, which is the fact that even though it is 5 simple steps to go through from inspire all the way to installation, there is a lot of friction that occurs within these various stages of the buying journey. And so our role at Syncly is really trying to figure out through software, how do we help manufacturers, how do we help dealers, designers, retailers streamline that process? Because I'll use a statistic that I'm familiar with from back when I was working for one of the largest cabinet manufacturers in the world, which is the fact that the average consumer goes through a kitchen purchase process 1.8 times in their lifetime. So not even 2 times does the average consumer actually go through this buying journey. That's what makes it so complex. That's what makes it so emotional, right? It's the heart of the home. Um, and for a manufacturer, there's lots of demands that make this really hard to do, right? The lead times are tight, margins aren't that high when we're talking about wood manufacturing. Um, and people are always constrained by being able to find labor to actually fill the factory. So there's a lot of challenging things out there in the market to really support this customer buying journey. But we want to talk about the ways in which already AI, when data is there connecting that full flow, can really help to solve some of that friction. Um, and so as we start to kind of take a look under the hood within these five different stages or categories, that's kind of going to be a little bit of the framework that we walk through today. Um, the inspiration step is so critical because that is really the portion where, as a manufacturer, you're able to set the hook with a consumer, get them a little bit hooked on a brand, a little bit loyal to maybe something they've seen online. The idea is, how do you reach that customer when they're sitting on their couch at home watching TV, mid commercial break, whatever, thumbing through the internet and starting to get inspired about their remodel or their home build or whatever it is. That's the point in time where we want to bring out the concept phase. We want to get them hooked and inspired on your products. However, if you're not doing that with a tool set that really knows what is actually capable to be manufactured, it can become really inefficient because all of a sudden you've inspired a customer that's willing to buy, but what they're willing to buy maybe cannot be manufactured or in the way that they want it to be manufactured. And so these are the areas where we start to see profit slipping. When you go from that inspiration to design, there's a lot of inefficiencies there. When you go through actually the design, quote, and sell phase, you enter an entirely new world of inefficiencies. So quotes that ignore the production reality are always going to have somebody on the other end of the line at the manufacturer when they receive the order. You know, the engineering team, the order entry team that's having to manually look through orders, validate orders, whatever that may be. It's really, really costly. Um, and so if we can impact that step of the journey, these are resources that oftentimes manufacturers have one, two, five teams of people managing that order entry and validation flow. And so that's a big area that we're going to talk about and that we can start to showcase some of the things that we're doing all the way through to scheduling production. And ultimately, if you're not efficient on how material gets planned into the shop floor, how you schedule production, you're going to increase overall WIP or work in process. And so that's something that if we can become more automated, leveraging AI to maybe predict scheduling or forecasting or material handling, that is where we can really start to impact that stage of it. Um, so a lot of AI out there in the world today, a lot of AI is visual, and we're going to talk about some of the visual components because I think this is the stuff that gets people really excited. You know, the renders and the videos and the imagery that AI has kind of already been impacting the kitchen and bath office furniture space for a year, 2 years now already. However, we're also going to go into the shop floor, into the factory, and look at ways in which we could start to really challenge the process and ways in which AI, when the data is there, is able to help you make a lot smarter decisions actually out on the shop floor. So the first thing that we're going to dig into is the more of this inspiration phase, right? So we've all seen it, we've heard it, we've been in retailers or showrooms or sat with a designer and we see that customer walking in with their Pinterest mood board. And that traditional approach is, you know, a designer has the conversation, does the discovery with the customer, and they start to really understand what it is that customer is looking for. They're doing all of this manually. They're drawing the walls from scratch. They're adding the doors. They're building the framework of the design. but then they're also listening to what the customer needs, and they're one at a time dropping SKUs into the floor plan, adjusting dimensions or features and options one at a time. Um, One of the ways in which an AI powered approach can impact this, if you see the video playing on the top right, is this mood board functionality that we've implemented here at Syncly into some of our solutions. And so um, this is essentially taking that Pinterest concept and bringing it to the early stage of the design process to help really understand what it is that a customer is looking for in their project, but it's also giving the designer a really solid starting point that they can then push into a professional design tool to actually take off from there and build the dream kitchen for the customer. So as you see here, they went through that mood board process. They tweaked and they changed things they liked and didn't like based off of actual manufacturer content. And that's a really important component of this is because we have all of the manufacturer catalogs out there in the market. Not only is this a mood board, but it's a mood board of real features and options and SKUs and items, not generic general items. And so once you've done that, it's creating that initial kitchen for you to then take off and create the rest of the design. At the same time, if you look at I'll pause that one in the video in the bottom right. This is a similar approach, but think of more of the remodel space where you've already got the fixed floor plan. You're trying to really just inspire a customer to say, do I want to remodel, or what colors am I actually interested in? This is where you can take an image from your own space, your own kitchen, upload it into the tool, and then start to layer in different functionality over top. So if I upload my initial image, I can then choose from some of the different styles that are available in the catalog, and I can start to get an idea of what would my space look like with new doors, new countertops, new kitchen. Um, and it's able to detect all of those objects in the room scene and layer in these other pieces of functionality um, on top. So those are just two different ways in which we can already today, leveraging AI and our data models that we have here at Syncly, provide tools that really help the inspiration phase. Now, as you get into the design phase, this is another space that has really evolved rapidly over the last, even I would say 6 months, but for sure 12 months. Um, Prior to a lot of these render upscaling options that are out there in the market and the things that we have now here at Syncly, a designer had to spend a considerable amount of time post design to get a visual to the place that you want it to actually close that sale. Um, and so if we look at this screen here, this is what I would have considered 3 years ago to be a pretty good output from a design tool out in the market. Today is just simply not the case. But historically, you would have had to really, with the customer, explained different things that maybe weren't exact from the design that they had to reimagine on their own. This really drives uncertainty in the sales process. It slows it down. And so the more realistic we can get these renders, it will shorten the quote to close cycle. It will increase confidence in the customer to buy faster. And the one thing that we've seen with manufacturers leveraging this is the ability to actually drive much higher upsell and some of these features and functionality within product that historically maybe couldn't really even be visualized. So things like finished ends or lighting within cabinetry, um, internal SKUs that maybe make it much better for internal organization. All of these items that previously were kind of an afterthought post sale, and you had to really explain to the customer what it would look like or how it would function. Now we can bring that to life through software, leveraging AI as upscalers on top of our existing render engines. The other big one, the three screenshots below that is actually the way in which we can use augmented reality of not only producing a really high quality render. So once we've designed the product or configured the product and we've enhanced it with better rendering, now we also have the capability to actually leverage augmented reality to or mixed reality to drop that product into an existing space like you're seeing here on the last two pictures. And so this is just another level of not only gaining the confidence of the customer just because it's a high-end visual, but you're bringing product into their own space. So they're able to actually confirm and validate sizing and the spacing that they've designed within the project, which again will drive much clearer and confident decisions in the customer. The next thing I want to dig into, and it's going one step back, but it is still part of the overall design process. So we've gone from inspiration and sales to now really the design phase where historically you would have had, countertop manufacturers that are going out for templates, um, closet manufacturers that are doing in-home design, kitchen designers that are doing takeoffs or bids for builders. Would have been taking blueprints the old-fashioned way and starting the design from scratch in the software. Today, we actually have at Syncly, and you can scan the QR code if you want to play with our generic scan tool. We have our LiDAR application, our Syncly Scan is what it's called, which leveraging our data at Syncly, which again, this is such a big part of why we can do what we do, and we will get there eventually into the discussion today, why we are able to detect objects better than other generic LiDAR tools. And so what Syncly Scan will do is it's giving all of these designers a much faster takeoff of the space so that they can start to design the kitchen. Um, and so it's available for any Apple product because Apple has the LiDAR technology already built into the phone itself. But this is where simply by downloading the app and scanning the room, you'll start to see the accuracy of it being able to detect windows and tubs and countertops from doors and built-ins with accurate dimensions that again can then be connected into the existing design tools out there in the market. So today with Design Flex out there in the market, it could be Mosaic in the future, it could be 3CAD in the future. All these other design applications that we have within the Syncly portfolio will be connected through the Syncly Scan LiDAR functionality. And interesting thing, I'm actually get a little bit personal here in the webinar, but I'm actually building a house right now. And last week, I'm at the phase right now. We've installed kitchens, templating countertops. They're actually installing countertops tomorrow. Last week, I was with the countertop fabricator in my house with his laser setup, and he's moving the corner blocks from corner to corner, doing all of his laser scan templating. And I pulled up the Syncly Scan app and showed him this technology, and he was absolutely blown away. I mean, we spent 2.5 hours templating and measuring all of these things within the kitchen, which for countertops you still do need to due to the zero room for error, but for cabinetry design, for furniture space planning, for closets, it is far enough accurate today where with where it's at to be leveraged as the primary tool to start an entire design. So just thought I'd share that. But it is something that seems simple, but this stage of the design process, of the sales process, is really clunky, time consuming, and costs a lot of money today for designers to go in home and validate measurements. So next, I want to get actually into the manufacturer. So we've inspired the customer, we've designed the kitchen, we've sold the kitchen through high quality renders. Now, what are ways in which AI is impacting the actual manufacturer when you get into the order entry team and support team and things like that? So a couple of things to call out. Today, there are so many different people and teams touching all kinds of data to actually process an order through the business. And so the more we can auto validate orders coming in, um, and eliminate that need for people to even look at an order or rekey an order is massive. And so this is often where we see we have manufacturers today that north of 80% of their designs that come into the system, they never touch. They simply are auto validated in the background by our various pieces of software, and they flow straight into production. That's the kind of thing that we're looking to solve for with all the manufacturers that we work with. The other thing is being able to search systems more effectively. So if you've got our insight system set up as your ERP within your business, now we're able to leverage AI agents in the background, and this is really the space we're working on here at Syncly in the manufacturing space is the agent layer, these various agents that are going to live within the software to really make it much more of a conversation. So before, maybe you had to actually create a BI dashboard through a SQL database. Now you can simply ask it a question. Show me which orders are late at the Indiana factory last week, and it'll simply serve up all of that information. Or what is my most common door style in zip code 12345, right? All of these are ways in which you're saving time, which is saving money, and you're putting data into the fingertips of whoever you want to put data into the fingertips of. So again, previously you would have had systems controls and people that would have had to go out and build reports. Natural language queries is a way in which you can serve up that data to the right people at the right time. And then one of the things I'm actually most excited about in the progress we're making, and a couple of pieces of functionality that are already in beta, is the way in which we're able to create catalogs. Catalogs is such a massive part of the industry today because the catalog is really driving the go-to-market for a manufacturer. It's what's feeding the design application, but that catalog data is also feeding engineering and everything else within maybe the ERP or the MES. And so one of the examples in the bottom right is actually a way in which we're able to, again, through an agent, simply upload a manufacturer's product spec book. Um, it knows exactly what the software needs as far as rules and scripts and features and options and various pieces of data to where it can actually self-build content in the background. So this is, again, if we think about certain projects that we do at Syncly, like in the ERP space, the database build out of taking a manufacturer's world and all that they're willing to go to market with, but also willing to manufacture and actually bringing that into really robust engineering information. That's a really expensive, costly, timely effort today. And this is a place where we're doubling down on and leaning into to try to figure out how do we leverage AI to support that in the best way possible. Because the more we can remove just these thousands of micro decisions that happen throughout a business every day, the more we're able to impact the process and help you become much more efficient, um, and save time and money. So the next one I want to get into is a little bit more of warehouse management and logistics, but also a little bit into machine learning, because this is another space where we are we are spending a lot of time on supporting the AI topic with uh, machine learning augmented demand planning. So what this is really doing is it's learning from the past to predict the future. So continuously learning from what has been sold or supplied or bought, um, to really start to understand what is the best way to do that now in the future based off of what I know is typically coming in Q2, right? So we can make sure that the factory has what they need when they need it. And the other thing that we're a couple of other areas that we're working on is the stacking optimization. So calculating the most effective way, the most efficient way to stack per job. So depending on how you're actually manufacturing, whether it's a job at a time or more in a bulk process, there's ways in which we can leverage data, sort data, and feed the right outcomes back into the manufacturer by leveraging AI. Um, and then the other piece is really just forecasting in general for the business. This is a place where simply using the math of the data that we already have about the manufacturer, we're able to help you forecast much better, demand planning much better, and ultimately just run a lot more operationally efficient as a company. So the next kind of space we're gonna go into is moving away from the reactive spot where AI is doing something as a result of something else, and more into that predictive side of things. So intervening with machines and really understanding machines, understanding the last time the belt sander was changed or the tip was changed at the CNC machine, um, and being able to predict maintenance downtime and schedule that ahead of time so that you're not having any downtime due to a machine that went down. We're simply scheduling that machine to go down because we know it's probably going to break in the next XYZ time frame, and rerouting that activity throughout the rest of the shop floor so that we're really not impacting anything in the manufacturing process. We're just simply predicting things at the right time so that they can be taken care of ahead of time. The other one, and this is something that we're already seeing at a lot of our customers doing today, is the BOM anomaly detection. So while a catalog-driven approach going into the market is used at most manufacturers, another layer that can kind of sit behind the scenes is this agent layer, actually looking at orders coming into the system, looking at the bill of materials in detail, and ensuring that there are no anomalies or errors in the process flowing into production. Um, so this is something that, if we can catch before that order goes into production, saves a ton of time and a ton of cost for the manufacturer. So whether that error was put in place by the designer or the order entry team, or maybe an error on manufacturing, bomb anomaly detection can try to solve a lot of that before it ever even hits the shop floor. We already talked about forecasting quite a bit. But the other thing is really just when you have this data set that sits at the core behind the scenes, and you have this full view all the way from the commercial go-to-market side through manufacturing on the operational side, this is where we are able to make much smarter recommendations for how you run the business, how you plan for the business, um, And so using AI as a layer behind the scenes to, again, make a lot of these analytical decisions, looking at the data, recommending based off the data, and ultimately driving better outcomes for you as a company. So all of this can really only happen if the foundation is there. And so what I want to turn to next is really just talking about why the foundation matters so much and how we as Syncly are able to support you in that foundation better than any manufacturer or any software supplier out there in the market. The foundation is really the most important piece of this because again, it's not just umbrella AI or generic AI that is trying to solve certain things based off of industry information or generic information out there in the market. At Syncly, we have by far the most robust data set out there in the industry. Syncly is sitting on over 30 years of industry data. We've got the primary design go-to-market tools out there in the market that have been doing even since October of 25. Over 1.6 million unique kitchen designs through our Flex platform, so via Winter Flex and Design Flex out there in the market. Over 2 billion machine executions through our ERP tools. Um, and today we have a team of 40 employees at Syncly that all they're doing every single day is figuring out what is the best way in which we can leverage AI within our software platform and feed that back into designers, retailers, manufacturers to support that buying journey. So um, they're looking at that process and they're training our digital twin products, which today we've got over 300 million data models that are being trained. And that really sits at the core of what we do. So if you look at the top right circle, that digital twin data platform is the nucleus of everything that we're going to be training and building upon that's going to impact every single stage of that buying journey. And this is where taking 30 years of industry data, training models in a much smarter way. If we think about a lot of the examples I shared earlier in the presentation, whether it's better renders or Syncly scan where we're detecting objects, because we have so much design data, we know what a good design should look like. We can ensure that the AI that we're putting into place isn't hallucinating. It's doing what it's intended to do in the outcome because of data that it's been fed or that it's bouncing off of behind the scenes. And then we can layer that into the application fabric that is really producing the AI outcome into those various streams. So what we always intend to do is if we can help you as a manufacturer really connect the full life cycle from inspire to design, sell, manufacture, install. This is where we're going to have the most complete set of data that we can help you make much better decisions at every stage of that. It's such an important piece of what we do now at Syncly. It's become really a part of every single conversation. And I think as we continue to iterate on product releases, features, functionalities in the market, you're going to see a really rapid increase in how we're able to support you as a designer, support you as a manufacturer, or maybe you're somebody out there that's doing a bit of everything. I think the future is bright for what we're able to do based off of what we've built within the core digital twin platform and how we're going to be able to scale out much more rapidly here in the coming months and quarters. And the last thing I want to just kind of summarize with is this is really what that looks like from an application standpoint. So this webinar was really intended to be much more generic and informing about all the different things that we're working on or things that are already live in the market. Now, this is really the view of how it actually works. So if you think about in the manufacturer's platform that we've built at Syncly, the best way to kind of explain it is the end-to-end platform is really all of us here use Microsoft 365, right? We're sitting here on a Teams call today. We use Outlook for email, PowerPoint for PowerPoint, Word for Word documents. Um, this is a similar thing, and you would expect all of those applications to eventually feed back into a core backbone that's sharing information. Same thing that we've built at Syncly. So think of that end-to-end stream in the middle as that platform connectivity, where all of the applications on the front end, whether it's Design Flex, Mosaic, Worksheet, Winterflex, Spaces Flex, EQ, Virtual Worlds, 3CAD, there's over a dozen of them out there in the market. All of those are really good at what they do for the various designers and retailers and manufacturers that they serve. We always want those orders in that process to feed deeper into the manufacturer. And that's really where our insight system takes over and starts to go through order process all the way through to installation. Um, but as we're able to leverage these different applications for you going out into the market and actually building products, that's where we can really unlock the full potential of AI. But doesn't mean you have to have everything to make an impact. It is all built modularly so that you can start, maybe you're a $5 million manufacturer today and you don't need a full ERP. Maybe you just need some extra functionality that doesn't exist. That's something that we at Syncly now can support you on to help you grow from that $1 million manufacturer to the next $1 billion manufacturer. And this same end-to-end platform supports dozens and hundreds of manufacturers at that level across the board. So with that, just to kind of wrap up who we are at Syncly, this is really in one slide everything that we live and breathe here as a company is we are really tailored towards the spaces for living industry. We want to help every stage of this process for designers, retailers, manufacturers, installers that are going to market or selling all those various products: doors, flooring, furniture, windows, doors, glass, kitchen and bath, office furniture, countertops. All of this we view as a job that has to be connected. And there's way too many horizontal applications that focus in much too of a generic format. And there's lots of other options out there in the market that maybe dig deep in one vertical category of this. But really, what we're trying to solve for is connecting that full end-to-end life cycle. Again, if an average consumer only does a kitchen remodel 1.8 times in their lifetime, how do we make that as smooth as possible for everybody so that the designer's job is easier, the retailer is making more profit, the manufacturer is manufacturing much smarter, much more efficient, making much higher margins, and that the installers aren't having to be the heroes fixing mistakes out in the field, but they're able to ensure that they're putting the final stamp on a job that's going to be impactful for the consumer, and everybody walks away much happier. So that is really the space that we play in. That is what we're going to continue to invest in as a company quite heavily. And thank you for all of you that joined the webinar today. I look forward to going much deeper in follow-up discussions on maybe ways in which you specifically can start leveraging some of the AI that we already have out there in the market. No matter what tool it is that you're using at Syncly, I promise you there is AI already available or is coming. And so if you know who your rep is, reach out to your rep to learn more. If you don't have a rep, we're gonna post some links in the sidebar here where you can ask questions, you can reach out to us, and either myself personally will reach back out to schedule a more in-depth discussion, or we'll get you to the right person who can help. But Thank you again for taking the time. Hopefully, this was impactful to you. Hopefully, you learned a little bit of something, but ultimately got inspired about what it is that we're doing together in the market. And I look forward to the next one. So, thank you very much.